This is Governor Bobber, like Good Day Doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Good Friday evening, everyone. Dr. Thornton is under the weather tonight. So we are here with Dr. Irvine. Been a busy week.
So
Uh,
I want to know if now is it just out with a cold, the flu, or COVID?
it's actually just a common cold. We were talking yesterday. I picked up my yard signs today and was seeing if you want to come along. And he goes, "Oh, I'm not feeling well. Look, okay, let's see. Craig is telling me he has mint chip ice cream tonight. He's all set to watch our show. Welcome, Craig. You know, and it's been a long, busy week. I mean, we had today my day during the day job. There's this thing called Safe Project Planning, and they do these things in big 6 weeks increments called PIs. We did our PI training this week, and it's like 4 hours for 4 days, and it is so nauseatingly long. I remember the old days managing large enterprise projects using an Excel spreadsheet. It is good that but yeah, it's just so tiring. Like yesterday, I was like having a hard time staying awake. You know, and I
you,
had a
you
bunch of.
you sound a little bit like Spencer, who's today was his last day working in for the Arizona government, and you know he slogged through that job for a while, but he got a better offer from some small uh, nonprofit that's in the kind of the state policy network sphere
Oh, nice.
In Harrisburg. He'll stay in Arizona, but at least he'll get to do something that'll be more to his liking. But
Yeah,
he was saying yesterday, even though he was winding up, he still had like mandatory meetings to attend, and he's kind of like, why?
I know. It's has he? What do you call? Has he looked at the Goldwater Institute that's out
He,
there in
I mean,
Arizona?
he looked a lot of different places, and
Hmm.
the position that he has, I actually don't have all the, I don't even can't remember the name of this outfit, but it's like it's it's one of these policy think tanky type of things in Harrisburg, and
Hmm.
uh, they basically created the position for him as a kind of a senior analyst writer or whatever.
Oh, that's great.
He doesn't have to move anywhere if he doesn't want to,
Hmm.
um, and the benefits and the salary are comparable, if not not much better than what he was making in Arizona. So when you're in a job that you really don't enjoy and somebody offers you some more money with
Oh,
in an
yeah.
area that you like better, take it.
Well, I mean, and the reverse is true too. Like when I was working for you know that organization called Second Genesis. This is probably I think it may have been about 3 or 4 months after I started working for you, and this woman tells me, "Hey, we're," and she lived down the street from me. She goes, "Hey, you want to come work for us at Second Genesis?" And I'm like, I go, I'm kind of happy where I am, but what are you talking numbers? And they go, "Oh, we could pay about but I think she came to me at like 43,000. I'm like, that's a significant jump up, but I'm just, it was just more, it was like, and I'm glad I didn't take it. That would have been a hellish job because evidently they had some. I mean, we gave them old decommissioned AIM computers. I mean, that's how bad that place was.
You never know in life. I mean, we had we had a guy that we'd had doing some of the things that you were doing for us beforehand, and you know
Yeah,
he uh, he came with us when we moved to that to Connecticut Avenue.
yeah,
Um, but it was Elaine Bennett's girls women's organization that set up shop next door,
Yep.
and they lured him away. Probably for I'm sure for significantly more money. But I remember
Yep.
going over there, and the place was deathly quiet. He was basically, it's like, yeah, you really couldn't speak. AIM was kind of lively and could have been
Yeah, it
boisterous.
was. And we had some
Um,
great characters
yeah,
there.
and I walked in next door to have a chat with
We're
him
talking
one
about
day.
you,
And I'm
Bob
like,
Anderson.
yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, there sometimes it's that camaraderie too. When you're in an office. I mean, today I don't know. I mean, today what half of workers are back in the office, and the other half are still working from home. But
Hmm.
there there's so many kind of X factors involved there. It's not necessarily all about the money. For everybody.
And what I don't really understand is how is it that we can be, people are still teleworking. On, why is there so much traffic on the Beltway and the roads? It is insane. I mean, most of the government people, they're all teleworking. It's like, what are you people doing on the roads? I know they're not working in the food industry because I go to restaurants and they're like, they have like 2 or 3 servers on hand at a time. It's like, where are you people going? It's and especially with the price of gas as it is, it's like around it's about $4 plus in Montgomery County. Most places, it's like where are you going? There's so much traffic, and I tell you, and there is a very special place in hell for left people driving slow in the left lane. That is the most aggravating thing on the road when they just sit cruising at 55 in the left lane. It's like come on, get
Yeah,
out of the left lane.
my wife and I both have limited patience on that, and we won't, we're not going to be driving 80 miles down on that left lane, but
Yeah.
if somebody starts to approach us and we're going 70, we'll move
Hmm.
over and let
Yeah.
them pass. But there are people who are, it's amazing whether or not it's the left lane of the Beltway or the
Left lane
or
of 95.
270 or
Yeah.
something like that. People are kind of blissfully unaware that they're slowing down traffic. They don't really pay
Hmm.
attention to what's around them.
They don't. I mean, and that's the sad part is they don't. And then the worst ones are, and I remember when I was working for you, I was talking to Debbie about this. They go slow to the left, and when you try to pass them, they start speeding up so they don't let you pass them. So then you go behind them thinking, oh, look, they're going faster. Then they slow back, go right back down to 55. And it's like, and that's like one of the most irritating, aggravating things I think I've seen. And it happens a lot, frankly.
Yeah, but you're
And
right. You're right about the traffic around here. You just kind of wonder, it's like, okay, I realize that we're we're really kind of in a post-pandemic world right now, getting back to
yeah.
normal.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of people, offices who are not going back to the office. I'm like, so who are all these people out there on the road? I mean,
I agree. It's like, it's like, and then uh, it's like, I saw Moco Show did the worst parking lots.
oh yeah,
You
did
know,
you that lit? Something I've been to most of those places, and I completely agree.
yeah. I mean, that Woodmore parking lot, the problem with Woodmore, the parking lot there is because all those kids from Blair park in that lot. You know, that is the biggest problem there, frankly. Because, the county has put a bunch of portable classrooms on the student parking lot, and not to
So
be that guy.
the students are parking across the street at Woodmore and crossing over.
Yep. Hmm. And then
Hmm.
you have that urgent care thing there. That's also probably got a lot of cars there, and I mean, the front's always been bad. The backside, you could usually find stuff, but that whole area, I think they just need to level everything and rebuild there. I mean, I heard rumors that area from the gas station up to University, they're going to tear that down and put something up there, which is fine by me, frankly.
Well,
It's
I mean,
but
that whole Four Corners area probably could use a revitalization. I mean, right?
yeah, it's like there was traffic on the Beltway the other day, and I decided to cut through. I got off on over in Four Corners, cut through Forest Glen, get around to where I live, right? And I could not believe how much traffic there was there. And I tell you, that McDonald's there and that 7-Eleven there, they need to close those exits that take you right onto 29. Frankly, that's just an accident waiting to happen. Actually, I want them to take. I want them to put an underpass and an overpass there, one or the other. Get rid of because the church is gone. It's now like some daycare center. Get rid of that. Get rid of the 7-Eleven and the vitamin shop and the McDonald's and the Papa John's. Build an overpass or underpass and get rid of those traffic lights on 29 once and for all. Let the free flow of traffic happen, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, this is there probably are better ways of doing things. I mean, over the years we've seen how the intersection of what Georgia and was it Randolph? I guess got
Yeah.
redone, right?
Yep.
And then
and by the way, they did that stupidly
and
too.
Rockville Pike too, right? The Rockville Pike Montrose Road. It's
Yeah.
completely different. And I like what they've done in most of those cases because I go to Rockville, I go down that area to go donate blood every 2 months, and it's hop on 270, hop right off, come up like this is actually not bad.
Yep.
Don't get stuck in a lot of other stuff. You just have to understand what all the rearrangement is. But now it's been so long, people are just used to it. And
yep.
Not a bad idea if you can engineer your way into that to try to improve the flow of traffic.
Oh yeah. It's just poor planning by the county. I mean, the county of Little Georgetown Road, they got rid of a car lane and put in a bike lane. That's always empty, and the 2 car lanes are full. And what is the matter with this county when that is their solution? Bike lanes, really?
Well, I know cyclists complain a lot about bike lanes in a lot of the area here in the DMV because the bike lanes will be for like they'll pop up for several blocks and then they end, right, kind of abruptly. And so you have a bike lane that might go for a couple of miles and then it's over with, and then they're back into either traffic or something else.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's kind of like you've given the cyclist a little bit of something, but you haven't really completed it. So then and who's winning this battle, the cyclists or the cars? Or
and downtown Bethesda has all these bike lanes. I think downtown Silver Springs got a whole bunch of bike lanes, and they're always empty. I never see people using them. I'm sorry. We're not China. We don't go to work on a bicycle. We go to work in our gigantic SUVs. Frankly, people need to these nothing against recreational biking is one thing. And I think they do a great job. They shut down Beach Drive, and you can go biking there, running, and I think that's great. But when you're taking lanes that could be used for cars and putting bike lanes that aren't being used, is that really any type of solution? No, it's not. And,
I mean, there'll soon be a plethora of e-bikes in those lanes at some point, right? Because Joe Biden's going to get rid of all the gas-powered cars. Like between the e-bikes and the EVs, that's all we'll have in 20 years, right?
And by the way, those e-bikes, I know a lot of people. The number one reason bicyclists bike is they go it's for health reasons, and I see those people with the e-bikes on the running path when I'm running, right, and I'm like, that there's no real exercise there when you got the motor power, you're just riding, you're just basically cruising around. You're not really getting any exercise, and it's and a lot of our friends are bicyclists, but I mean they're responsible. I mean I see them don't stop at stop signs, they don't stop at red lights, they blow through red lights, and it's really frustrating when they do that. I mean Connecticut Avenue, they've added a bike lane. Luckily, they haven't put those little guards up, like they've done on Old Georgetown. But it's really bad what they're doing. Bike lanes are bad. But I mean, there's a lot of things that happened this week. Including the Empire has a new Well, we'll be getting a new prime minister, or maybe the old prime minister is going to come back for a second coming of Boris Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I feel bad for Liz Truss though because I mean I'm sure the ambition was there, when Boris stepped down and everything like that, and she did win the election within the Conservative Party to become the prime
Yep.
minister, but she came in some senses almost as a sacrificial lamb because the headwinds that she had in terms of with the high inflation, the soaring energy cost
Hmm.
thanks to Russia, you know uh, and trying, she, in her libertarian streak, uh, but
And to
you
her
know
credit, she did cut taxes, and
yeah,
that's kind of what set everything in a tailspin.
Boris Johnson was raising taxes. I mean, the Tories had turned into just a
Labor
shadow.
light.
They started acting like the Liberal Party, the Labor
Yeah.
Party, and so she goes out there and they decide, okay, we're going to have this kind of Reaganomics, right? Wasn't
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
lower the taxes, stimulate the economy,
Hmm.
and all of this. And Bank of England, was having none of it, and just the pressure. She
Uh-huh.
fires the exchequer, the Treasury Secretary guy, and brings in a new guy, but I think the handwriting was on the wall that she was just doomed, and it's unfortunate. I kind of would It would have been nice if they had the courage of their convictions into battle against that thing.
I think she should have stuck it out. I mean, Margaret Thatcher would have fought back, frankly. You know, and I tell you, there's a lady from the Federalist that was writing about this, how, and she was talking, and I was kind of shocked. She was talking about how the Conservative Party's kind of lost their ways in Great Britain. She goes, it's basically like become a clique of all the wealthy people whose parents are very wealthy, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's true. I mean, Boris Johnson is hardly uber wealthy, and I know their policy is very different. I mean, you don't become a member of House of Commons and come out a millionaire like you do in the United States Congress.
Right. Yeah,
But
but I mean, when you try to talk like a conservative, but then you govern like a Labor Party, with tax increases and stuff like that,
mhm,
um, it doesn't, you kind of begin to wonder, it's like, so exactly how much difference is there between, Boris Johnson as the Conservative Party leader at the
mhm,
time, Prime Minister, versus the Labor Party leader? What policies would have been all that different? And it doesn't seem that there were enough. So now, people want to now. A lot of people want the election to be called earlier than
mhm.
it's scheduled for. But you take that job of PM. At this point, it just could be yet another suicide on the watch
Yeah.
there, because it's going to be very, very tough to deal with, and there's no guarantee that these tax increases that they want to
Mhm,
push through are going to solve the problem. I think in the long run, it worsens the problems in Great Britain.
mhm,
And once again, you got to have the courage of your convictions. Yeah, tax cuts will cost the Treasury money at the get go, but if it stimulates business and keeps things going and puts people on a payroll, that's far better than just watching it kind of rage out of control
mhm.
and decimate your economy, which is where they're heading right now. But they do look like a mess. I mean, there are a lot of people are throwing their hat in the ring. Yeah, kind of like, why shouldn't Boris Johnson go ahead and try to reclaim, right? At
Yeah.
this point in time. I mean, but whoever gets this job, I don't envy them. But if they toe to the center and they kind of toe center left, then what's the incentive for Britons, when it does come time to vote for the Tories, the Conservative
Yeah.
Party.
It's like, why would you vote for Labor Light? Frankly, is what it comes down
Yeah,
to.
right. No, that's right. I mean, why would you do that? So it'll be interesting. I mean,
Hmm.
this is where you see, I think, kind of the failure of the parliamentary system, like that, is that it will lead to instability in government, and
Hmm.
you can
And
things
I
can
think,
collapse at a moment's
yeah,
notice, as it did.
I want to say Queen Liz would have done a better job. I think she would have talked her into staying, frankly. Opposed to King Chuck III, who basically, that's okay, go away, kind of. Because I mean, he at his heart is one of those dyed-in-the-wool labor liberals, frankly, and I think the best thing would be to just dissolve Parliament, call elections, and call it a day, frankly, and right now, I mean, all around the world, I mean, the Chinese stock market is really tanking, which is not a bad thing for us, frankly. Uh, and we need strong leadership. I mean, we've got Joe Biden living basically, or I mean, it's like I don't know if you heard some of the stuff he's been saying. Like one of my favorite ones is where he's chomping down on ice cream and thinks the economy's doing just fine. Or when he went on 60 Minutes, it was only barely up inflation, and
Well,
it's
Joe's been getting a little, the whole Biden administration is getting a little testy lately when they're getting questions by the press about, you know, where are the Democratic candidates inviting you to come campaign for them, you know,
and then that
what?
answer he gave was just totally crazy. That answer.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, that's the problem here, and they're trying to defend these energy prices and other things like that, and they can't really defend them. I thought it was funny too. I saw a thing from the Bernie Sanders the other day where he said that you know the something to the effect about uh, the the media and the Republicans. The media is not allowing the Republicans to talk about inflation. There was some
Yeah.
crazy statement by Bernie Sanders about basically saying that you know trying trying to hide this whole inflationary picture that that doesn't benefit them at all, but try to throw the blame for inflation to the GOP, which is ludicrous. It's like, who's in charge, Bernie? Who's
Yeah, I
running?
mean, I mean that as well as the way basically the attitude, the out of touch attitude of Democrats. It's like Rome is burning, and they're just denying that it's burning. Frankly, it's like anybody who has a regular job, goes to work, has to pay bills, understands things are bad and they're going to get worse. And it's basic. And people remember 2 years ago, gas was around $2 or a little less than $2. Uh, and milk was not $5 a gallon. Bacon was not whatever it is now, which is astronomically high. People understand. People are worried about Thanksgiving dinner. How big of a bird are they going to have to substitute the turkey with a chicken just because they can't afford to buy a big turkey this year? Are they going to have Thanksgiving chickens? And that's something that this Democrat Party, and I tell you, the picture of Joe Biden with that ice cream cone going around saying that he's out of, acting like there's nothing wrong, and him sitting there, chomping down an ice cream cone and saying, the economy's doing fine. And that's the stuff that kind of got George H.W. Bush in trouble in 1992 as being out of touch with the average. I mean, there was some Democrat, I can't think of his name, but he said, it's the economy, stupid, and
Yeah,
that's,
that's the infamous James Carville.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I just don't want to say his name.
But he was. I mean, that's he cracked.
I mean,
You got
he's
to
been
give.
telling the Democrats that lose your woke ways, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. I mean, Carville. He did a great. He did the job he was hired to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure Democrats, but I tell you, today's Democrats don't like Bill Clinton either. They think Bill Clinton was too right wing, for them. They go, because he did that crime bill, the Joe Biden crime bill that was signed, and they don't understand. Today's Democrats, they're just basically a party of a bunch of temper tantrum kids. This is you have AOC who does a town hall where she kind of lost control of what's going on in there. I mean, even she is feeling it now in her liberal bastion of her congressional district in New York City. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's And everything is Putin's fault, evidently. When things are bad, it's Putin. When things are good, it's Joe.
Yeah, I mean, the administration can't blame Putin for everything and try and get away with it all the time. I mean,
Hmm.
it's Putin was an easy target for higher gas prices initially and things like that. But this administration is anti-fossil fuel.
Yeah, and now he's also like talking about big oil. He's also talking about big oil companies gouging prices. You know, and it's ridiculous. Oil companies. They got to predict. And maybe if we didn't stop drilling and stop the pipelines, we wouldn't be in this mess. It wouldn't be that bad. And we're now having to do. We're raising interest rates. To slow down, and it's just not going to end well, frankly. And you know, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Conservatives, Liberals, you're all going to feel the same pain at the pump, at the grocery store. You're going to see we still have empty shelves. People still can't find baby formula. I mean, that is should be so embarrassing for this administration. Empty shelves. We're looking like Gorbachev's last days of the Soviet Union, where you couldn't find stuff on the shelves. Things were empty. I mean, that's the day. That's what these stores look like when you see empty shelves. Parents can't find baby formulas. Wait till and winter is coming. The price of natural gas is going to go up. Electricity is going to go up. Heating oil, you know, all that's going to be going up. And people are going to have to choose. Put on a sweater or a winter coat. And not run the heat all the time. Or and just think what it's going to do to this senior population
Yeah,
who's
I
on a
mean,
fixed income.
yeah, the liberals, there's that whole big kick right on using electric power, right? Whether or not it's an
Hmm.
EV, for your
Yep.
car or whatever, they want to get rid of coal and natural gas. They think those are
Hmm.
all things that are bad for the environment. But they want people to heat their homes using heat pumps. Uh, I had a heat pump in that house I used to live in. It was
Yeah.
it was horrible in the winter. You could never get the house warm enough, uh, unless you were going to spend a ton of money. Even back then, because heat pumps are just not efficient in cold weather. That's why they don't have heat pumps, in the Northeast, right? You can't. It's
Hmm.
just it's too frigid for them to do that. So they use a lot of heating oil and natural gas. But those are big things on Biden's list. The liberals to get rid of. Exactly how does he think people are supposed to really truly heat their homes to even a minimum standard level, if he really gets rid of natural gas and heating oil? I mean, that is just, it doesn't make any sense. That this is part of the problem, is that this country is got all kinds of different factors going on. There's
Hmm.
different climate and weather in every region of the country, and you can't just have a blanket thing of like, we're going to electrify America, and electricity is the only thing that will heat and cool your home. That will run
Yep.
say that's your main mode of transportation. It
Yep.
makes absolutely no sense at all.
And when we switched from the horse and buggy to the automobile, we didn't tell people, hey, throw your horse and buggies away and go buy a gas powered car. You know, it happens gradually. And honestly, it's like that's how they should be treating this. They should not be forcing this from the top down. It should be from the ground up, frankly. If you want to buy an electric car, buy an electric car. If you want to buy a gas powered car, buy your gas powered car. You want to buy a hybrid, that's fine. If you're in California, if you want to buy a hydrogen fuel cell car, that's great. And by the way, hydrogen fuel cell is the future. That is the best way. That is the way to go, frankly.
Yeah.
Toyota has two hydrogen fuel cell cars they sell in Southern California. To fill up a hydrogen fuel cell car, it takes less. It takes basically the same time it does to fill up a gas tank. The exhaust is distilled water, basically. You've got, and that is, and hydrogen is not coming from a dirty coal plant, as the left would say. And hydrogen, I mean, they've been around in California for a while. I have not heard of any massive car crashes with where a hydrogen fuel cell car blew up and you had Hindenburg 2.0 on the LA freeway anywhere. I mean, we would have heard about it if that happened.
Okay, so like one of the biggest boosters besides you of hydrogen was that Trevor Milton from the former CEO of Nikola.
Hmm.
You know, and he had
Yep.
this truck, right? There's supposed to be it was hydrogen was it was one of the sources of power there, and what you know, I think he was just indicted or whatever for fraud or whatever because
Hmm.
like you know they had said that the truck he used in the demonstration to woo investors had basically been pushed up a hill and they just let it roll down and they had he was telling investors that's you know that's that it was this was a working model or something.
Yeah, and here's and when people do that, that's just a horrible because we're using hydrogen fuel cell cars in and and I'm willing to bet you give Toyota a prize, they will build a Toyota Tundra that runs on hydrogen fuel cell. You know, and so it's that's that's the long and short of it. I mean, and nuclear power. That's the other one. Nuclear power is really the cleanest, safest form of electricity. And I know it takes a while to bring them back online, but I mean, come on, Europeans, what are you waiting for? Start bringing them back online. Stop praying for that warmer winter. And you guys want to thank him and thank Greta Thunberg for this. Yeah, I mean, Susan, that's right, Flintstone cars. That's
Yeah,
you
they
know,
definitely.
yeah, and it's crazy. That's what they want. I mean, that's the world we live in. I mean, it's kind of like what is it? Air Canada said they're going to go for all electric airplanes. Good luck with that.
Montgomery County, I think, just didn't they just announce that they're adding 61 more electric school buses to their fleet.
Hmm. Yeah, where's that electricity coming from? Montgomery County? Is it coming from solar or a wind farm somewhere?
Yeah, it's a little. I'm still not quite sure. You
I think
know,
it's coming from that Pepco plant.
yeah, I think they're supposed to be able to have some solar power that will able to charge up the
Yeah,
buses overnight so they're ready to go the next day. But
yeah.
um, you know, you know, for the buses, you know, it may work for them in some way if they actually have thought this out, you know, in terms of fuel savings or something like that, because they don't the buses themselves don't generally have, you know, each trip is not usually very long.
Hmm.
Uh, so they probably stay within the general capacity of what the charge is for that. Um, but I don't know. I mean, you know, Montgomery County's still got to find enough drivers to drive their buses on top of that. So it's just, you
Hmm.
know, we still have that problem going on in Montgomery County as well as
Yeah.
other parts of the county, the country. There's just
I mean, anyone looking to work, there's what do you call? There's a number of positions, that you can have out there. I think issues is, with the fact that people have gotten so used to free money, people are just staying home. We had one of our viewers who just recently purchased a new car. I'm not going to mention his name, but he is free to comment and tell us the car he purchased and how it's like how long he probably had to wait for it. I wonder is probably about 3 to 4 months he's probably had to wait for that car on the short end. But I think I think the biggest problem is how out of touch everyone is these days. Uh, they're pushing this green agenda. It's like yeah, find me a fully EV dump truck or a crane. Oh, he bought a Bronco Sport, and oh, he didn't have a wait time. How'd you manage that, Craig? I mean, right now, from what I've been hearing, is anybody wants a car like a SUV, there's just like a wait time for everything. You
uh,
know, uh, Oh, jeez, we got one of those.
The
Time to
spam.
block them.
Is that YouTube?
Yes. Yep. And oh, they're back again.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to stop that stuff.
Nice, Craig. You know, that's the best way to buy a car, by paying cash. That is the best way. But what color is it? Because that's what everybody always wants to know. You know.
Wasn't it? Didn't he have a picture the other day? Was it white? I can't remember.
I thought it was silver, but
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Craig will tell us.
He will tell you momentarily.
Yes. Yeah, there's a 1.5 year wait. I mean, oh, the Facebook video is out of sync. Okay, that's fine. But, and, you know, like I said, and now, jeez. You know, I blocked him. Why is it still coming through? He's been blocked. That's weird.
They have ways around you.
Yes.
I was going to say too, on the EVs, I was listening to tech podcast, and I hadn't thought about it because, you know, there's not a lot of them out there. But, you know, when homeowners are starting to, you know, little by little are starting to put more EV chargers in their homes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There was a discussion about the potential for, you know, because those are hooked up usually to the home Wi-Fi, about being potentially hackable, and whether or not, you know, the manufacturers of those chargers, you know, have built-in protections to prevent that. I mean, you know, we're in a very big IoT, you know, Internet of Things world where,
Yep.
you know, when you put those devices in your home, how many of these things have you opened up a portal, you know, to a hacker
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that? I mean, I have a Nest thermostat in the house, but I also have a, you know, an Eero mesh, you know, Wi-Fi deal in here too, which also, and I pay for their service to make sure that they try to keep threats out on top of
Hey,
that.
wasn't those thermostats? There was some problem that people froze, I guess, or they turned the houses down like really cold or something like that. People with there's some problem with it.
Yeah, I think that was that in Colorado someplace. I mean,
Yeah,
there was some
it
flaw
was
in
last
there.
spring, I think. Yeah.
But oh, actually, I think what happened actually was that, wasn't the complaint that the people who got the thermostats, I think they got them from the utility for free, but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't understand that what they were also doing was agreeing that the utility could control those, and that therefore, if they had a high power, you know, usage demand, they could turn the thermostat down remotely. And a lot of people apparently missed that option. You know, that thing that was the trade off there. I mean, and everything like that. I mean, I like some Internet of Things deals, but, you know, like this, like the oven that we got, you know, a couple of years ago. I mean, it's Wi-Fi capable, but I've never connected
Mm-hmm.
it to home Wi-Fi.
Well, you know, look, evidently my dishwasher is also Wi-Fi. Like,
You can do dishwashers, you can do refrigerators. The
yeah,
question there is that, you know, unless you've established some kind of firewall, or you've done something there, you
yeah,
know, do a lot of people just, a lot of people don't, their router password, you know, if they set up themselves, might be password or 123,
yep,
they never change, certain settings. So then, they'd be very vulnerable to somebody getting into their dishwasher and then finding their way into the rest of the home and creating havoc.
yep.
So
And
a
I
lot.
think that honestly, I don't see what. I know they say, "Oh, the Wi-Fi refrigerator will tell you when you're running low on milk." I mean, am I that stupid? I can't open the refrigerator and say, "Oh, I'm low on milk. I guess I should go buy some," or call Grubhub and have them send me some milk. You know, do I really need to be that connected? I mean, and I mean, and I work in technology. You know, and it's like it's one of those things. Like, nah, I don't want that much connectivity. You know, frankly, you know, I don't want to have, you know, give that much autonomy to my appliances, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I think manufacturers have experimented with things. I mean, for years there was a big deal about, I think it was LG or something like that. They had like a little television or like monitor
Yep.
in the refrigerator door, and I don't think they sell those anymore. Nobody, it was just a distraction, and it was it was a bell and whistle that nobody really cared for and didn't
Yeah.
want to pay for.
People like to put refrigerator magnets on refrigerators. They don't like to see. I mean, LG also has this one of this like entire like screen where you can put digital pictures and stuff. No, people want to stick real pictures up on there, stuff like that. And
Yeah, I don't, I think about it's like exactly how much time you're going to be spending in front of your refrigerator trying to watch
yeah,
television on a screen that's what, maybe that big or something. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
it
like
doesn't.
Samsung has built-in. What does Samsung have? They got something that's built-in. Oh yeah, they got built-in Soda Stream in their refrigerators. It's like it's like the the ice maker through the door. It's kind of nice when you don't have one. I remember years ago then we got a refrigerator. You know, it's like who really? I mean, I use it, but I mean, I thought it was really cool when I was like about I guess 13 when you get crushed ice or the half circle ice or whatever it was. But now it's like I'd rather have the extra space to put stuff in the freezer than have ice come through the door, frankly.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers, but our current ice maker and water dispenser, so far so good, but
Yeah.
invariably all the ones of like all those type of refrigerators that we've owned, at some point in time,
Hmm.
stuff starts to go wrong with it, and then it basically stops working. So that
I am.
then you just
Yeah.
have this thing that just doesn't work anymore. You're like, why?
I am very disappointed. KitchenAid is a great brand. They make the best refrigerators. They make the best ranges. Their dishwashers, little to be desired. I had a dishwasher break in 2 years now, and the previous one lasted about 8 years, which I guess good. See, everyone's going, "Oh wow, 8 years!" It's like, how long are these things supposed to last? If not, I mean, I remember refrigerators being you get people having refrigerators that are 20, 30 years old. Ranges that are that old, not very energy efficient, but you only need to get a new one when you get tired of looking at it. But now it seems like they seem to break within 15, 20 years. You need to buy a new refrigerator. 10 years is like an eternity for a refrigerator these days, evidently.
Yeah, I mean, that probably makes sense.
Hmm.
I've owned a few refrigerators in my home owning time, so uh, that definitely is the appliance that I've replaced the most.
Yeah. And I know for one of the rental properties, I bought a Maytag refrigerator. It was relatively inexpensive, and it's been going for about. I think it's probably coming up in about 12 years now. 12 years of a Maytag, and that Maytag I bought it from as a floor sample from Appliance Land, and still running just fine. But
Yeah, we've wound
how
up
is
buying our appliances from Costco if they have the right thing that we need.
yeah? See, my only issue with Costco's is they I don't know if they do this. They might be doing it now, but I remember when I checked in the past, they don't do installation. They don't do and I don't know how soon they could deliver the stuff too. And welcome back, Susan. Yeah, but I mean, I think appliances these they don't the old stuff my dad and my granddad would say they don't make things like they used to. It is so true. They don't make things like they used to. Yeah, things just are not durable, and it's I think part of the whole disposable economy. Everybody wants to buy something. I mean, I remember growing up, the kitchen was redone twice. Now it seems like people are redoing their kitchens every 10 years, when it used to be like 20, 30 years people would redo their kitchens and bathrooms and so on. Now it's like every 10 years. I've heard of people actually redoing kitchens in 5 years, which is like, I think it's insane. Why would you want to go through that much construction that quickly again? But there's a lot
Well,
of other stuff happening. How is the little war, Vladimir's little war in Ukraine going? I, I must say, it really has not worked out as well as he had planned. He's using Iranian drones now. And the areas he annexed are not really controlled by him.
Yeah, I mean, you know things are not going well. I mean, he has to declare martial law in those regions. I mean, it's just it it's kind of a mess. I mean, yeah, his the desperation hours are showing because they're attacking uh, you know energy. I mean, they're basically of Ukraine is on a I think it's a 4 hour off, 6 hour on rolling blackout.
Hmm. Just like
As a
California.
yeah, yeah, as a result. So, but Ukraine has been remarkably resilient. I mean, they're going to face a little bit of a problem though because it looks like that Russia's going to try to they're going to try to squeeze them a little bit instead of just coming in via Russia. They're going to try.
Hmm.
They may try to come in through Belarus now too. Uh, but that you remember that mobilization of 300,000 men and everything, like right? They're looking for those
Hmm.
soldiers. That has been a story watching the. I think Putin said that they've gotten up to down 220,000, but there's been plenty of deserters there, and a lot of people who get about 10 days of training and then are sent to the front lines. But most of those people don't know how to handle a weapon. They don't, they've never been in combat before, and
Has Putin just taken Ho Chi Minh's battle plan for the Vietnam War? We had like 13 and 14-year-olds going out and fighting the Americans. Has he like dusted off Ho Chi Minh's playbook? You know, out of the Soviet archives.
yeah, I mean, wasn't I mean, I think there were stories. I mean, they've gone they've taken people out of prisons to go fight and all kinds of
Yeah.
things. I mean, it's just kind of a crazy thing.
Yes. And if you don't die, you will give you clemency.
Yeah. If you survive, you'll be free. And
Uh,
we might actually give you a weapon that's got enough ammo for you to last.
and I wonder how many people go and they just defect. How many of these prisoners are going to take up Vlad on this opportunity, get their 5 days of training, get to Ukraine, and then defect and start fighting for the Ukrainians.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of these people don't know what they're fighting for. I mean, there are Russians that don't believe Putin and the whole accusation, his pretense of going in there, which was, there was a fascist government
Yeah.
in Ukraine, and which has been completely debunked. But it's amazing, when you're in these communist countries, kind of type of things, how much people will just believe the government line, right? What in China they're spoon fed, in North Korea, whatever news they're spoon fed. It's all they know, and but people have
Hmm.
their allegiances. There was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal the other day about two brothers who are priests. One is in
Hmm.
Ukraine and one is in Russia, and they're each of them are loyal to where they're living in, and the priest in Russia, he fully believes Putin on the whole fascist government and Ukraine thing. Uh, so the two brothers basically rarely speak to each other because
Yeah.
they're split by this war. Uh,
Yeah. It's like brother against brother, the Civil War. A lot of
right,
war
right.
analogies. I mean, they've got. I think it's really, really bad, and the biggest loser is going to be the Russian people in this whole thing. How high does the body count have to get? I mean, come on, Vlad. How many people have you killed today? How many mothers are crying themselves asleep because of your little war in Ukraine? You know, uh, and I think it's just if they can't wrap this up by the winter season, I think it's going to be in for the long haul, frankly. And I think Putin doesn't survive at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, as the weather turns colder, I mean, it's going to be a tough slog for either side. But I think the Ukrainians are much more motivated. Plus, they've been
Yep.
trained by the U.S., to how to do
Hmm.
things, and they're getting pretty decent support from the West with money and material that. it makes it tough for Putin. Whereas Putin now is, I mean, they're basically bringing in ordinary citizens to fight who are, they're not professional soldiers. They haven't been
Hmm.
trained. I mean, what is the motivation for a 50-year-old guy that gets 10 days of training to go out and freeze his butt off against Ukraine in a place that he didn't want to fight
Yeah.
to begin with, and he's ill equipped to do so. If you want to survive, the best thing to do is just to, raise up your hands, lay down your weapons, and say, take me, because
Hmm.
whatever you're going to do to me, whatever living conditions you give me while I'm a POW, will be surely be better than freezing out here and
Yes,
then risking
and
getting shot and killed.
yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is, and then you have the pro-Russians in the United States here. They're like people that are praising, Putin, and like they're buying into the propaganda of Ukraine being a Nazi country and so on. And there's just something wrong with those people, I think. I know we had a candidate in Maryland for state house who was wearing an Adidas tracksuit to show her solidarity with Vladimir Putin. And it's just despicable. I don't see how. See, I think Vlad's kind of stuck in a. This is his quagmire. He can't pull out without losing face. He can't really, he tried. Let me annex this area, and I'll declare victory, and we'll call it a day. That did not work well for him. The annexation stuff. And evidently they were expelled from those annexed areas. So it's the. I mean, this is just I mean, if Vladimir were smart, he would sue for peace, frankly, and get some sort of a peace deal. Perhaps give back Crimea to the Ukrainians. And kind of just end the carnage, frankly.
Well, that would really be something. I mean, if it comes to where he winds up having to give up Crimea after all these years after having annexed it,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely the end of Putin. I mean, that you know they come out of that far worse off than when they entered in.
Yeah, and let me tell you, their economy is not going to be. Let me tell you, it's just you've got there's a global recession starting. I mean, we were talking about that. Liz Truss is resigning in Great Britain, and we're going to see it. I mean, it's happening. The French are seeing, and you've got these problems. You've got all these other problems along with it, where you have people like that are talking about everything from the fact that you got this war, high price of gas, you've got high price of food, you've got countries like the Netherlands, Ireland, Sri Lanka banning fertilizers, which is causing a food shortage. I mean, not to sound all coast to coast AM conspiratorialist like that guy. There's a guy named Quayle that used to come on there and talk about the food shortage coming and how it's the globalists' way of ending, basically getting rid of worthless eaters and stuff like that. But it is. I mean, there is going to be. We might even see famine in Europe, and that's something we haven't seen since. I guess I want to say World War One or after World War One. There was maybe been famine, or in the 1800s in Europe. I mean, we're going to see. They keep going down this green road. It's going to be pretty bleak. I don't know if you ever watched it my first Soylent Green. Evidently, they seem to be running a lot on MeTV. Not MeTV. One of those free cable the digital channels. They seem to be running it every so often. I'm like, wow. We're kind of living in the times of Soylent Green. Uh,
Yeah, well, I mean, this
and
is what happens. I mean, Europe, they were foolish enough to tie themselves and a lot of their energy needs to Russia, and now they're
mhm.
paying the prices. I mean, there's no doubt that the war in Ukraine has inflicted a lot of pain around the globe overall. But I don't know if Putin also thought that that type of pain would also get the countries to come around and not
Oh
support
yes, it's
Ukraine
the
and try
movies
to end the
channel.
thing. But but I mean, the thing is that if that was anywhere in his thought process, that has also failed because even though countries are grappling with 40-year high inflation or whatever it
Hmm.
is for any particular country, uh, they're trying to find a way to deal with it rather than just say, well, if we do this, Russia will, reopen the pipeline and give us our full allotment of natural
Hmm.
gas or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's still going to be quite a bit of pain economically for a lot of countries, um,
Hmm.
for a while here. I think, I mean, even if the war in Ukraine ends, it will not, it won't get inflation back to the 2% or less level that we had before. It's because it's not the sole cause of that problem. There are
Yeah,
many other
it's
factors.
going to be. I want to say it's going to be America that of pulls the world out of this doldrums. I mean, if we were to start drilling for oil, if we were to start, taking positive steps, becoming energy independent, opposed to just using the SPR oil, which is I think probably half empty by now or half full, however you want to look at it, for political games, like he just released some more oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Why? Oh, there's an election in less than 20 days now. I mean, people can see through his politics. He says it's not politics, but it is politics. I mean, a 3-year-old can see through that, and these people are. And it's gonna take new leadership in America. I think a President DeSantis. And here's the one thing: I'm confident we can get out of this faster than we got into this with the right leadership and the right policies. Frankly, I mean, look how fast President Reagan turned around the economy. Uh, I think it was 18 months, about 2 years, 18 to 24 months, and the economy was going like gangbusters after that. You know, so it's a matter of leaderships and policies, and do we have the stomach to make the tough decisions? And that's but
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
also
the Democrats definitely don't because they're still, Republicans are not completely innocent on,
no, we're
tax
not.
and policies, but the Democrats they're taking this to a whole new level. Here we are with the 40-year high inflation, and they still talk, they still look at, increasing taxes
Uh
and
huh.
spending money, which is exactly the wrong thing to be doing at this point in time. But and then you got Biden still talking about how the deficit is
Hmm.
going lower and lower without the other explanation that the reason why is that because the pandemic spending is gone, all that extra spending is gone. I mean, this is not like you have actually reduced the deficit from the time you took office. You had increased, you had spent so much money that when that money flow, when you turned off the spigot for the pandemic spending, giving people all that money, yeah, deficit was bound to drop. It makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yep.
Government revenues have been up.
And we're actually at final thoughts time. Actually, for the first time in weeks, we're actually going to hit final thoughts right at the mark. So let's start with you, Don. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I guess a few things here. The January 6th committee has subpoenaed Donald Trump. We'll see where that goes. Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress for not testifying and by that committee. I mean, the committee's got limited power to do a lot of things.
Hmm.
At this point in time, you know, with as you said, the election's less than 20 days away. If things go as we think they will, at least with the House, that January 6th committee's got a very limited, lifespan. If the Trump legal team can just do enough maneuvering until early January, until the new Congress takes effect, that committee probably goes totally away, and so does the subpoena at that point in
Hmm.
time. So I think at this point in time, it's just yet another thing. As we were talking before the show started, I mean, all this Trump stuff, right? I mean, the Democrats keep trying to pump up and trying to keep Trump front and center, hoping to win some extra votes that way. But I think that's like Putin. It's a failed strategy. Um, Lee Zeldin is actually, according to Quinnipiac, he's within striking distance of Kathy
Yep.
Hochul. And
And I think we win that.
yeah,
I
I mean, I
think
didn't think that was even remotely possible, but
yeah.
it is possible. You might actually be a happy guy here, Dwight, on that New York thing.
I know. And I think we're going to win the Oregon governor's race, too.
That one also potentially, yeah. I mean, I think the liberals are complaining. Liberals always they crack me up because I think it was Robert Reich. It was complaining on Twitter the other day about the billionaires are they're spending all this money on the election, but his complaint really was it's the liberals, it's the billionaires spending money, to basically fight against these insane Democrat woke candidates. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
including Phil Knight from Nike. I mean, Jeff Bezos and all these people have been throwing money in and are like, we're no longer just going to toe a Democrat line. I mean, there's nothing in it for us, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of rebelling against the system. And all of a sudden, the liberals are like, oh well, now that you're not really supporting us wholeheartedly, you're the enemy. You're going to buy an election, right? Unbelievable. I just love it. I
Yeah.
mean, and what about George Soros? I mean, how much money has George Soros poured into
Yeah, and all
campaigns?
these woke prosecutors, DAs
Yeah,
around this
yeah.
country.
But that's an inconvenient truth that the Democrats don't want to address,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have their enemies list, and George Soros is their saint. So you get that. You got Tulsi Gabbard. She hasn't switched the Republican Party, but she is campaigning for Republicans. So good for her. Maybe that'll help
Mm-hmm.
give some
Yeah.
of them a little bit of a boost.
I think
Um,
Gabbard for governor of Hawaii. She could be our second Republican governor of Hawaii.
yeah. I mean, I think it's unknown as to what Tulsi Gabbard really wants to do, but she may be using this campaigning thing as a little bit of testing the waters to see does she
Mm-hmm.
have some support to run for something again. I mean, and if she does, more power to her. I mean, I think we've talked before. I mean, her dad was a big guy. Fighting against all the gay agenda, all that stuff in
Yep.
Hawaii years ago. So she has some conservative roots there.
Yeah.
So I think she is much more closely aligned to Republican principles than Democrat
Mm-hmm.
principles, and she
And
definitely
here's the one thing about Tulsi Gabbard. She's from Hawaii. Why would you want to come to Washington D.C.? It's hot, humid, hazy. The summers are horrible. We have every 17 years we have cicadas that come out of the ground. We've got bad traffic. Why would you not want to stay in Honolulu and be the governor of the most popular state in America that everybody wants to go to? Where you can sip your Mai Tais at Waikiki Beach and enjoy watching Hawaii Five-O reruns, the Jack Lord era, not the new woke Hawaii Five-O that CBS had a few years ago. I don't know if it's even still on, but yeah.
when you say all that stuff too. I mean, and we've talked. You talk a lot about inflation. In terms of
Mm-hmm.
affecting some of the
Hawaii's expensive.
the breadbasket issues. Now you're making me wonder. I always Hawaii was always expensive before, but if inflation is at a 40-year high, what the
Yeah,
heck? What the heck are the basic goods like in
I
Hawaii?
know.
They've got to be
Yeah,
astronomical.
I mean gas has got to be at least $7 a gallon in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean it's got. I mean, yeah, I mean, California. They're never going to get away from high gas prices because they have so many regulations on
Mm-hmm.
gasoline production that you can't get to $3 or $4. At this point, they're it forces the gas to be in that $5-6 range in California because of regulation. So lots of issues out there. It'd be interesting to see what Tulsi Gabbard wants to do in her political
Yeah.
future. So, and then my last comment really will be I see Governor Hogan is there's a party. I guess in the end of sometime in November. Is it November
Yep,
30th?
November 30th, he's got
Yeah,
an event at Maryland Live.
yeah. So I saw that today and I'm thinking like I'm just kind of curious as to how many people will buy tickets and show up to that
Mm-hmm.
event. We have so many of our raw Hogan people from 2014 and 2018 that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
yelling at him, calling him a rhino and everything like that. So I wonder how much Republican support has
Yeah.
eroded on his part. But I'll always stand behind him for it was
8 years, no
he,
tax
yeah
increases, no rain
he
tax,
did
no
about as
fee
good a job as
increases
he
or
could do given the circumstances when you have in essence a super majority in the state legislature, right?
I mean,
He
he got
wasn't.
rid of the fees on the Easy Pass machines.
Yeah,
We don't have tolls have not gone up. And if we elect Wes Moron, we'll have tolls will probably double or more. They'll bring back the Easy Pass fees. All those O'Malley era tax increases will be back, and then some.
yeah, and there's nobody to stop them from doing that, right? Because the Democrats will all be in alignment. So it's
That's why I say vote
unfortunate.
for all the Republicans.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't have a stronger candidate on the GOP side, but it is what it is.
Hmm.
All right, I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, I've got two final thoughts. One, this is the Republicans will take 25 seats or more in the House. We take the Senate by 2 seats. And the World Series is the Phillies and the Astros.
It got
I
that.
mean,
Yeah, I think the Astros are a lock. The Phillies, it'll be interesting to see.
it's tied up 1-1. I mean, they're tied up 1-1 right now. Let's see what the score is right now. They don't play till later, so.
Yeah, they
But
don't like. I think the game. Yeah,
it's a late game because it's San Diego.
I thought the game was supposed to start. So, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it's 8:03. Oh, it's about to start. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But Houston, I think Bryce Harper and go Bears. But yeah, I mean Bryce Harper made the right move by going to Philadelphia.
Yeah. I mean, there it was. I mean, the Nationals won the World Series in 2019, the year after he left, right?
Hmm.
And so Bryce Harper's been a terrific player for Philadelphia, and he may get his chance to play in the World Series here because he's been hitting. He's hot right now, and the Phillies seem to be
Hmm.
playing at their peak. So it will be very interesting to see. And they're at home. They're at home for the next 3 games. In
Oh
theory,
yeah,
if they win all those 3 games, they are going to the World Series. So that'll be pretty
and
hard to
I
do.
think so. Democrats' best case scenario for you, Republicans will take 25 seats, but it's going to be worse than that. So we're going to take more than 25 seats. And I cannot wait to see the sobbing eyes of Michael Steele and Rachel Maddow and the women of the View Wednesday morning when we have both houses. And, and I tell you, my long shot pick, Herschel Walker pulls it through in Florida. I'm in Florida, Georgia.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the races are tight enough that that it's possible that Republicans will gain the majority, but could go either way. I mean, it could stay
mhm.
at 50-50. It could go
Yeah.
51 or 52 for the Democrats. It could go 51 or 52 Republicans.
Hmm.
There's just if what we don't know is
Yeah.
how the early voting is going in terms of which way the voters are leaning. We know numbers of
Yeah.
Democrats and Republican
And,
ballots that voters have been voting, but
mhm.
I don't know. I mean, Biden's trying to make a big deal about abortion, and in some space, some places it will make a difference. Maybe in some congressional races potentially, but on a statewide basis, on a nationwide basis,
Yep.
that's a tougher case. I mean, the economy and crime and things like that, immigration. I think those are issues that are much more important to the voters than
Oh yeah.
abortion.
Exactly, because I think abortion those are like very luxurious issues. You can worry about them when everything's going fine, but when you're worried about putting food on the table, gas is around $4 a gallon. You want to be thinking about something more than that. But anyways, that's a wrap. We'll see everyone next week. Happy Diwali to those who celebrate, and don't forget. Smash the like button and leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.